Okay.
These gulfs appear and deeper but less wide as we rise higher in the scale of nature. If there are rudiments of life reaction in the metal, as has been recently contended, it may be identical with life reaction in the plant in its essence, but what might be called the vital physical difference is so considerable that one seems to us inanimate, the other, though not apparently conscious, might be called a living creature. Between the highest plant life and lowest animal, the gulf is visibly deeper, for it is the difference between mind and the entire absence of any apparent or even rudimentary movement of mind. In the one, the stuff of mental consciousness is unawakened, though there is a life of vital reactions, a suppressed or subconscious or perhaps only submental sense vibration, which seems to be intensely active. In the other, though the life is at first less automatic and secure in the subconscious way of living, and in its own new way of overt consciousness, imperfectly determined, still mind is awakened. There is a conscious life, a profound transition has been made, but the community of the phenomena of life between plant and animal, however different their organization, narrows the gulf, even though it does not fill in its profundity. Between the highest animal and the lowest man, there is a still deeper, though narrower gulf to be crossed, the gulf between sense mind and the intellect. For however we may insist on the primitive nature of the savage, we cannot alter the fact that the most primitive human being has, above and beyond the sense mind, emotional vitality and primary practical intelligence, which we share with the animals. A human intellect and is capable, in whatever limits, of reflection, ideas, conscious invention, religious and ethical thought and feeling, everything fundamental of which man as a race is capable. He has the same kind of intelligence. It differs only in its past instruction and formative training and the degree of its developed capacity, intensity, and activity. Still, in spite of these dividing furrows, we can no longer suppose that God or some demiurge has manufactured each genus and species ready-made in body and in consciousness and left the matter there. Having looked upon his work and seen that it was good, it has become evident that a secretly conscious or an inconscient energy of creation has effected the transition by swift or slow degrees, by whatever means, devices, biological, physical, or psychological machinery, perhaps having made it, did not care to preserve as distinct forms what were only stepping stones and had no longer any function, nor served any purpose in evolutionary nature. But this explanation of the gaps is little more than a hypothesis, which as yet we cannot sufficiently substantiate. It is probable at any rate that the reason for these radical differences is to be found in the working of the inner force and not in the outer process of the evolutionary transition. If you look at it more deeply from that inner side, the difficulty of understanding ceases and these transitions become intelligible and indeed inevitable by the very nature of the evolutionary process and its principle.
Yeah. So, quite a big para, okay? And a lot of ideas there which we have to look very carefully to understand. If we just read superficially, then it's not any fun to read Sremno like that. You have to go into detail and look at every word. Sometimes it's difficult, but we have to try and do that, okay? So, I'll do one thing. I'll read the summary. I think yesterday we read the summary, no? Or we can read it again because these ideas are so intellectually profound.
No, Ranga, we haven't read the summary.
Okay.
Ranga, we haven't read the summary. We read it only. We have read the paragraph only today.
Okay. Oh, right. So, I'll read the summary and then we'll go back to the words and see what he's saying. I got today morning also a little confused with some words. And then I looked at the dictionary in my phone And I saw that my God, Shilpa uses it in such a precise manner. Okay, so we'll see. I'm reading the summary. The differences in nature between these grades become deeper but less wide. Now that's very interesting. What do you mean by deeper and less wide? We'll look at it. As the ascent rises from one level to the next. Level 1 is matter, level 2 is life, level 3 is mind. Level 4 is the spiritual consciousness, and even if you want to go even higher up, level 5 if you want is the supramental consciousness. So there are even between these, there are intermediate levels also, but they are the main levels. From level to the next. It is possible, as recently found, that in the metal there are hidden traces of life reactions. Okay. Now this is interesting because in engineering they have found that even metal, okay, does have wear and tear. Okay, and it's got what they call metal fatigue. If you suddenly you have an accident either in a car or an aeroplane, and then when you analyze and see the metal which is broken in an X-ray, then you see that there is cracks developing in the metal, which we don't see, tiny cracks. So that they call metal fatigue. Okay, so there are at a deeper level things start to and then result in the physical. Metal fatigue, just as in plants. So there are hidden traces of life reactions, just as in plants. Yet, the difference between plant and metal is so striking that one may say that the first is animate and alive, and the second is inanimate, dead. Okay, the difference is tremendous. Something which is dead and something which is so it's a very the gulf is very deep. Okay, that's what you can see. Yet the difference between plant and metal is so striking that one may say the first is animate, alive, and the second is inanimate, dead. Again, between the highest plant, okay, highest plant means you can see its sensitiveness and all. Example, mimosa. Mimosa is a touch me not. In Bengali you call it lajjavati. Okay, if you touch it, and the leaves close. Mimosa, sensitiveness, and carnivorous plants. They are definitely superior to the lower type of plants. And lowest animal, the gap is glaring. The lowest animal is, let us say, microbes and things like that. Okay? Maybe even worms. So, the gap is glaring. Locomotion. Why it is glaring? Because plants can't move. They are stuck. And the lowest animal can move. Locomotion is a huge difference. The latter has conscious mental reactions. The latter has conscious mental reactions, while the former has no visible mentality at all. So, which is the latter and the former? The plant and the lowest animal. Okay. So, next, the gulf between the highest animal and lowest man is the vast difference in the quality of mentality. Mentality is common to both, but there is a vast difference in the quality. Okay? So, the animal has no rationality, no human emotionality, no religious fervor. Now this is apparently so. Certainly, the animal has got some amount of rationality, as we have discovered recently. We have seen that animals do have rationality, but at a very, very low level. For instance, if a bird, a stork, or a flamingo, they stand in water and then watch, and they take a leaf and throw it on the water surface, and that makes little ripples. And when the ripples come, the fish think that it is an insect, and they come up to investigate or eat. And then the bird quickly pounces on the fish. So there is a rationality in it. There is a purpose. Okay? So that is what Ranga is saying. The latter has conscious mental reactions, while the former has no visible mentality. The animal has no rationality, no human emotionality, but this is only surface. There is a rationality in man and animal, and also emotionality. We know very well that there are emotions in animals, but no religious fervor. That is definite. There is no religious fervor in the animal. So that's a gap. In the man, there is a religious fervor is there, and emotionality is much more developed. Man has what the animal does not possess: the capacity of reflection, power of invention, morality, and religious sentiment. Religious sentiment is very clear. Okay? Where is it gone? Yeah. The animal too has an intelligence, but man retains past developed capacity and can develop himself further. Okay? Thus, there is a commonality. Srinath uses the word community, commonality, identity of character, common character, yet a deep gulf of difference. This is what he's saying. Now let's look at the sentence by sentence and see what he's saying. These gulfs, this is very clear what you mean by gulf. There is a big difference between matter and life. Matter is dead, but life is living. Okay? So there is a big difference. So that's a gulf. Then between life and mind also there is a big gulf. Okay? But as you keep going higher and higher, it becomes less wide. What does he mean by that? Say, in matter there is no life at all. There is, but we don't see it. Okay? So you can say it is dead. But in life, there is movement and there is movement is there. Movement does not seem to be there in matter. But it is less wide as we rise higher in the scale of nature. So, less wide means from matter to life, the gulf is very deep. No doubt. But from life to animal to man, both have got common life. So it is less wide. Because of life, common life is there in both. Whereas in matter there is no life, and suddenly in plant and animal there is life. So the gulf is very deep and wide also. But as you keep going up from animal to man, life is common to both. Therefore it is less wide. Okay? But it is deep also because the animal does not think, or at least doesn't have logic to the extent that man has got. So there is a gulf, but it is less wide in this sense that there is commonality between animal and man. As we rise higher in the scale of nature. So now it's clear? The less wide means both have got life, common. If there are rudiments of life reaction in the metal, as has been recently contended, it may be identical with life reaction in the plant in its essence. The life is there in matter, but only in essence. But what might be called the vital physical difference? The vital physical difference is you can see life is different from matter. That's why the vital physical difference is so considerable that one seems to us inanimate. Inanimate means cannot move, and the other, though not apparently conscious, might be called a living creature because it is growing. There is life in it. So it is a living creature. Between the highest plant life and the lowest animal, the gulf is visibly deeper. Now, between the highest plant life, okay, the highest plant life, I gave you examples. I think we could say that mimosa, the plant, okay, touch me not. Okay, you touch it and it closes. So there is a reaction. Okay, that's the highest plant life. Normally, trees don't react to you. They react. There is emotion, but you don't see it. No? It's not manifested. Though not apparently conscious, but we call it a living creature. That's clear. The vital physical difference. The vital physical difference is you see life. In the metal, you don't see life, but it is there. It's so considerable that one seems to us inanimate, the other, though not apparently conscious, might be called a living creature. Between the highest plant life and the lowest animal, the gulf is visibly deeper. How? Highest plant life, it cannot move. Lowest animal, it moves. So locomotion is there. So it's again a big difference. For it is the difference between mind and the entire absence of any apparent or even rudimentary movement of mind. So, apparently, okay. So, what is the thing he is talking about? Highest plant life and lowest animal. The gulf is visibly deeper because there is locomotion. For it is the difference between mind and the entire absence of any apparent or even rudimentary movement of mind. In the one, the stuff of mental consciousness is unawakened, though there is a life of vital reactions, a suppressed or subconscious or perhaps only sub-mental sense vibration. Look at the words, no? So, perhaps in sub-mental sense vibration, which seems to be intensely active. In the other, what is he comparing now? He is comparing between the highest plant life and the lowest animal. So highest plant life, as you said, mimosa, carnivorous plants, they are capable of things which normal plant life is not capable of. Lowest animal, the gulf is visibly deeper because there is locomotion, as you said. For it is the difference between mind and the entire absence of any apparent or even rudimentary movement of mind. So, lowest animal, there is some amount of mind. In plant life, you don't see any life at all, any mind movement. You don't see. Movement of mind, some thinking. In the one, the stuff of mental consciousness is unawakened. Take the worm, it's a very lowest type of animal life. Of animal life. Lowest animal life, there is no mind in the worm or the caterpillar. There is only what Sridhar is called vital reactions. Okay? Life reactions are there. If you touch it, it may withdraw. But there is no thought. There is not capable of avoiding your touch. There is no thinking. Okay? But in the plant, there is absolutely no such thing at all. There is a life of vital reactions, a suppressed or subconscious or perhaps only sub-mental sense vibration. Now if you take the worm, this phrase fits it perfectly. Sub-mental, below the mind level, sense vibration. It can sense vibrations, which seem to be intensely active. The Serno says that sense vibration is intensely active in plants and lower forms of animals, more than the normal animal. Okay. In the other, though the life is at first less automatic and secure in the subconscious way of living, and in its own new way of overt consciousness, imperfectly determined, still mind is awakened in the animal. There is a conscious life, a profound transition, conscious life. There can be life without so-called consciousness. There is a conscious life. Profound transition has been made between he is comparing the highest plant and the lowest animal. Okay. In the other, though the life is at first less automatic and secure in the subconscious way of living, and in its own new way of overt consciousness, imperfectly determined. So, in the lower animals, there is a consciousness, but it is not at all perfect. It is very, very far from being perfect. The consciousness in the animal is far inferior to that in man. Still, mind is awakened. There is a reaction, very low type of mental reaction. There is a conscious life. A profound transition has been made. Life has come in. But the community of the phenomenon of life between plant and animal, however different their organization, narrows the gulf. Now this is the word he has used, the word community. Now normally we understand by community the social group. But here there is a secondary meaning. The secondary meaning is two things having common features. That is what is meant by community. When two things share common characteristics, you call that community. Or commonality, you can also say. So these are words that are used in the secondary sense. Okay? But the community of the phenomenon of life between plant and animal, however different their organization, narrows the gulf. What does he mean by this? He means that both have got life. That's what he means. The gulf has been narrowed. So it's not, the wideness has become less. The wideness between matter and life is tremendous. One is moving, one is not. But here, between plant and animal, both have got life. So the gulf has become less. They have got common features. In the other one, there are no common features at all. It looks like matter and life have no common feature. But in plant life and lower animal life, both have got life. Therefore, the gulf is less. That's what he's saying. Okay? There is a conscious life, a profound transition has been made. But the community of the phenomenon of life between plant and animal, the community is the commonness. Commonness is to both, life is there in both, plant and animal. However different their organization, narrows the gulf because they are common features, even though it does not fill in its profundity. The profundity between plant and animal is huge because of the capability of movement. Between the highest animal and the lowest man, there is a still deeper, though narrower gulf to be crossed. Okay? The highest animal, take the chimpanzee, the gorilla, which is supposed to be very intelligent, okay, the dolphin, even the elephant, there is a lot of intelligence. But there is still deeper, though narrower gulf to be crossed. There is a deeper. The deeper is what? There is no apparent logic. There is no thought capacity. The animal can certainly, however intelligent it may be, it is incapable of religious fervor or of philosophical logic. Not possible. That's why it is deeper, though narrower. Why narrow? Because life is there in common both. And why deeper? Because one is not capable of religious fervor or philosophic logic. I'm putting properly. Now you understand the word, what I mean by deeper but narrower. Okay? Narrower means there are common features. Deeper means there is a big difference between the two. Okay? For however we may insist on the primitive nature of the savage, we cannot alter the fact that the most primitive human being has, above and beyond the sense mind, emotional vitality and primary practical intelligence. Okay. Primary practical intelligence, which we share with the animals. A human intellect and is capable, in whatever limits, of reflection, ideas, conscious invention, Now that's a very interesting thing. The animal has no conscious invention. It's not conscious. It's a very interesting phrase what he's saying. The more you think about it, you'll see. The beaver is inventing. It is stopping the river and making a lake for itself. It is inventing a lake. But it's not conscious. It is a life movement. There is certainly no religion and ethical, no morality, okay, in the animal. But in man you have conscious invention, religion and ethical, that means moral thinking and feeling. So there is the commonality. The wideness is less because of life common to both, but the gulf is deeper because one is capable of religious fervor and the other is not capable at all. The lowest man can conceive somewhat of God, something higher than himself. But animal has absolutely no such capacity to think of something higher than itself. So we can see how interesting this para is, of which man as a race is capable. He is capable of religion, morality, and logic. He has the same kind of intelligence. It differs only in its past instruction and formative training and the degree of its developed capacity, intensity, and activity. So, the animal has got these things. It has got formative training and the degree of its developed capacity, intensity, and activity. Mind is there in both, but the quality differs immensely. That's what it's saying. Okay? Still, in spite of these dividing furrows, furrow is word for gulf. Okay? When you plow the land, it leaves a furrow. So that means a gap between a line which divides. We can no longer suppose that God or some demiurge has manufactured each genus and species ready-made in body and in consciousness and left the matter there, having looked upon his work and seen that it was good. This sentence is hitting very subtly, not so subtly, is very ironical at Christianity. Because Christianity says that God made genus and species ready-made. No evolution. There's no evolution in Christianity. Okay? Here, made animals. They're all made together. No evolution. Ready-made in body and in consciousness and left the matter there. Okay? Once he has done, finish. Creation takes place only once in Christianity. Having looked upon his work and seen that it was good. This is very clearly, and there's an irony in it. Okay? Look, oh yes, I have done good work. So, it has become evident that a secretly conscious or an inconscient energy of creation has effected the transition by swift or slow degrees, by whatever means, devices, biological, physical, or psychological machinery. Perhaps having made it, did not care to preserve as distinct forms what were only stepping stones and had no longer any function or served any purpose in evolutionary nature. So Ranga is explaining that there must have been steps between matter and life, between life and mind. There must have been steps. But nature thought that they are very minor and are not necessary to retain them. But if you look very carefully, you will see that there are steps between matter and life. We have discussed that earlier. Virus sometimes behaves like matter, sometimes behaves like animal. Or between plant and animal also we have seen that there are grades. The carnivorous plants, even mimosa, because there seems to have emotion or seems to have some sort of like and dislike. Okay, so these are the things, steps between. So nature has, but in the larger scale, yes, nature does let go some evolutionary forms. For instance, the pterodactyl, the the dragon has disappeared. Then what is that called? The Jurassic Park, all those huge animals. What is it?
Dinosaurs.
Yeah,
Dinosaurs.
Yeah. Then also the mammoth, the elephant, which was huge, that also has disappeared. So nature plays, and when it sees that it's not very necessary, it lets it go. But these are the go-betweens between the different stages of evolution. Perhaps having made it, did not care to preserve as distinct forms, but were only stepping stones, or had no longer any function, nor served any purpose in evolutionary nature. But this explanation of the gaps is little more than a hypothesis, which as yet we cannot sufficiently substantiate. Now what Sharma is saying is very interesting. He is saying that how to explain these gaps. We are only thinking of the mind, and thinking is a hypothesis. But when you go into consciousness, you will see that it's not a hypothesis at all, and you can see clearly the movement. You can see the connection between all these things. Remember, he says that supermind is there even in matter. Okay, mind is there in matter. So when you go to the consciousness level, you will see that you can see the connection between all these. It's a gradual evolution. But this explanation of the gaps is little more than a hypothesis, which as yet we cannot sufficiently substantiate. As yet, he's saying, in future we may be able to. It is probable, at any rate, that the reason for these radical differences is to be found in the working of the inner force and not in the outer process of the evolutionary transition. If you look only at the physical evolution, you will not be able to explain the gaps. Matter becoming life and life becoming a thinking substance. We cannot explain. But if you look at it spiritually, you go to the inner force, okay, you will see clearly that there is a transition. If we look at it more deeply from the inner side, from the consciousness side, the difficulty of understanding ceases. So now you can see clearly that all these things are the same. Matter, life, mind are three things which are absolutely the same. So now you know that there is no difficulty in understanding how one can become the other. It's exactly like ice, water, water vapor. Totally three different things. Physically, absolutely different. Yet, there is a commonality. So that's what Sharma is pointing out. The difficulty of understanding ceases. And these transitions become intelligible. Intelligible means comprehensible. You can understand, understandable. And indeed, inevitable by the very nature of the evolutionary process and its principle. So, very interesting para. What's the time? 24. We have got 6 minutes. We can read one more para. Who will read? Somebody.
May I say something?
Yes, please, go ahead.
You know, even in matter, like in the various elements, there
Yes.
is a reaction because the elements react with each other and form compounds,
Exactly.
like water. But
Yes.
a pure element, like say gold, will be a little much higher than iron because gold is very inert and does not react and stays pure. While iron will rust.
Ah.
So, you know, there is some sort of movement also present in matter and
Yes.
some sort of hierarchy in metal also.
Yes.
And if you go to gems have certain qualities.
Yes. That's
So
right.
there is a sort of hierarchy even in matter and in metal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Take for instance, uranium. It is capable
Yes.
of emitting energy. Whereas
Yes, radiation.
Exactly. So there are grades. So all these grades you see when you see from the spiritual point of view, not from the physical point of view. If you see from the physical point of view, very difficult to explain how dead matter can become living animals. Very difficult to explain. But if you look from the spiritual point of view, everything is possible to be explained. Okay? That's what he's saying. So, let's try and read the next para. It's not a very big one. We can read. Who will read?
Can I read?
Okay, Shilpa. We are seeing you after a long time. You are okay?
Yes, fine.
Okay. Shilpa, go ahead, read. Or if we look.
Or if we look not at the scientific or physical aspects, but at the psychological side of the question and inquire in what precisely the difference lies, we shall see that it comes.
Whatever. Seems to have lost the connection. Okay, then somebody else has to read. Oh.
Ranga, should I read?
Yes, you can read. Jishnu, read.
Somebody read.
Oh,
Read
I'm just starting from the beginning. Okay, so
Yes.
starting from here only. We shall see that it consists in the rise of consciousness to another principle of being. The metal is fixed in the inconscient and inanimate principle of matter, even if we can suppose that it has some reactions suggestive of life in it, or at least of rudimentary vibrations that in the plant developed into life. Still, it is not at all characteristically a form of life. It is characteristically a form of matter. The plant is fixed in a subconscious action of the principle of life. Not that it is not subject to matter or devoid of reactions that find their full meaning only in mind, for it seems to have submental reactions that in us are the foundation of pleasure and pain, or of attraction and repulsion. But still, it is a form of life, not of not mere matter, nor is it, so far as we know, at all a mind-conscious being. Man and animal are both mentally conscious beings, but the animal is fixed in vital mind and mind sense, and cannot exceed its limitations. While man has received into his sense mind the light of another principle, the intellect, which is really at once a reflection and a degradation of the supermind, a ray of gnosis seized by the sense mentality and transformed into something other than its source, for it is agnostic like sense mind in which and for which it works, not gnostic. It seeks to lay hold on knowledge because it does not possess it. It does not, like supermind, hold knowledge in itself as the natural prerogative, as its natural prerogative. In other words, in each of these forms of existence, the universal being has fixed its action of consciousness in a different principle, or as between man and animal, in the modification of a lower by a higher, though still it is not the highest grade principle. It is this stride from one principle of being to another, quite different principle of being, that creates the transitions, the furrows, the sharp lines of distance, and makes not all the difference, but still a radical characteristic difference between being and being in their nature.
We'll read this next time in detail, but one thought has struck me just now, and I would like to share that with you. Okay? There are laws which are very flexible, and the same law goes on as it keeps going higher and higher in the different stages of evolution. It changes its character. I will tell you, at our level, there is like and dislike. Okay? So, when we like something, we like to go closer to it. When we don't like something, we want to repulse, we want to go away from it. Now, this law is there in matter also. Take two magnets. Sometimes they repulse each other and sometimes they go away from each other or attract themselves to it. So this, in the physical, it is purely a physical movement of attraction and repulsion. Now we call this attraction and repulsion, but it is material attraction and repulsion. At the animal level, it turns into liking and disliking. The same law. Very interesting. And now when you come to the mind also, you are repulsed by some thoughts and you are attracted to some thoughts. So see, the same law is taking a different character as you keep going higher and higher. Now whatever you go into the spiritual consciousness, again there is a change of the same law, but totally different in character. And what is that? There is an attraction. Okay? There is an attraction means a concentration. A concentration of your mind is an inward movement. The same thing. And there is an outward movement also. Okay? So the outward movement is the creation that takes place. In the divine consciousness, when there is outward movement which is going away, that creates the universe. But when there is a deeper concentration, okay, what they call chit ghana, okay, there is an inward movement. And this is there even in the universe. The black hole is so densely attracted matter into itself that there is even light can't come out from it. So this is just one thing, one law which you can see is common to all, and this is what happens with all the laws. The laws are common at all the stages, but they change their character. It's a very interesting thing. If you look at it very carefully, you will see there is a commonality between the lowest and the highest. But its character changes entirely. Our liking and disliking is like the magnet, okay, attraction and repulsion. But no emotion and matter. But in our case, emotion comes in. Now when you go even higher up, it's not a question of emotion at all. It is creation and non-creation. When you create, you are going outwards. And when you are concentrated within yourself, okay, that's the condition where the divine is engrossed only in himself. He is not creating. That's a concentration. So this is just one thought. And this principle applies to everything. It applies to force. It applies to freedom. It applies to anything that you can think of. The same phenomena happens. There is a gradation. Okay? I've gone beyond my time and we will stop here today. But think about it, it's very interesting. So, the laws are common to all, but their character goes on changing. So next time we'll read this para again, make a note, we'll redo for if we look. One way you are looking materially, scientific, and one way you are looking psychologically. Shendra is describing the two things. Okay? Scientifically, you can't explain many things, but psychologically you can explain a lot. Okay? So, somebody has to note down for if we look.
Merci beaucoup.
Okay. When
Thank you.
When we go into details, Shendro's writing was so interesting, really fascinating. Okay, can I say au revoir to everybody?
Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Au revoir, Ranga. Thank you.
Okay.
Au revoir, Dada. Thank you.
Okay. Next time, Kiran and Seema can read. They have not read for a long time. Okay, I'm closing.